So, UFC 261 went down last night in Jacksonville, Florida. This is my post-fight reaction. My name is Rahul J. Chan. This is the Battle Camp. Thank you very much for joining me. So, my original plan was to sit down and make individual videos for the 3 title fights, and then make a separate video for the rest of the main card and the prelim fights. And I've decided against that because, one, it's now 8:20 in the evening here in the UK, and at 9 o'clock, I've got to watch Line of Duty. I've got to watch Line of Duty. Mother of God, I've got to watch Line of Duty, and I don't have time. I just don't have time to sit here and make individual videos about each of the fights. And more importantly, look, man, when I tend to try to avoid other people's content after a major event, because I want to form my own opinion and then share it. And then I'll go back and listen to what other people have said and kind of see where I think, actually, you know what, I might have been wrong there. Or look, he actually agrees with me. I might be onto something here. And today I've been doing loads of boring chores around the house, and I had a thoroughly good time watching the fights last night. And because of that, today I thought to myself, you know what, just listen to what people have got to say, because I needed more. I needed more of a reaction to what happened, because last night was emotional. It was epic. What a night of fights. So rather than sitting here and trying to go into in-depth detail about each of the fights, all I'm going to do is give a few kind of observations that I haven't really seen anyone else talk about. So the first thing I want to talk about is the crowd itself, right? So this is the first time in a year we've had a full house. We've had a live audience, and I saw so many people talk about the fact that, I actually enjoy it without a crowd, because you get to hear the impact of the strikes, and you get to hear what the corner is saying to the fighter during the actual fight. And I appreciate that, I understand that, and in certain circumstances I agree with that. But nothing beats the roar of a crowd when someone hits a deck. Do you know what I mean? And like, you get in certain parts of America, and I don't know enough about America geographically, and I don't really pay close enough attention to tell you this city is a really crap audience, but then this city is a really good audience. I don't know. But I didn't think that Jacksonville, Florida had a reputation for being a city where the crowd comes out and are very kind of vocal and interactive with the event. And yesterday, I put it down to the fact that it's been over a year since these guys have been to a live event in a full house, and it was, the card was stacked, and it's like the fighters and the audience just fed off each other. Each fight on the card, it was like a crescendo. Each fight just boom, 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 louder and louder and louder and harder and more impact. And with each fight that was happening, and then the audience were responding by getting louder and louder and louder. And I missed it, man. I missed having a crowd at a live event. The thing that I didn't miss, and I was talking to my mate Redneck about this, is these Americans love doing a woo. Woo! Woo! Like, what? Why? I actually asked him, why do you lot always woo at events? Like, what is the story behind this? And he was like, I don't know, I hate it. And so do I hate it as well. But it was a welcome return for me, having a live crowd. And like I say, I think they both just fed off each other. When I say they, I mean the audience and the fighters. And I think they both kind of, it was just such a beautiful marriage. And this is why, personally, I prefer having a crowd at an event. One thing that I saw Luke Thomas say, because like I said, I've been listening to content today, and I heard Luke Thomas's post-fight reaction. I listened to weighing in. I've seen people react to the fights on Twitter. And one thing that I noticed, and Luke Thomas was one of the guys that made the point, is why are you guys booing Weili Zhang? And I don't see the problem with it. Like, I think it's easy to misconstrue backing your own guy, your own fighter, your own girl in this situation, aka Rose Namajunas, who fights from the States, you can understand why the crowd were supporting her and why they had her back during the fight. And it's easy to misconstrue supporting your own with, I don't know, I don't want to use the word, but racism. But I don't see it that way, man. I think there's a reason why American fighters, be it mixed martial artists or boxers, talk about the fans in the UK and talk about the atmosphere that you get at live events in the UK and compare it with what they're used to in America. And I honestly don't see the problem with an American audience supporting their own American fighter against someone from China. And like over here in the UK, it's you don't even bat an eyelid at someone coming from another country coming to fight one of our own British fighters and that person getting abused. That's all part of it. That's the whole point of having the home advantage. You get it here if it's two cities. Like someone might be from Manchester, he's fighting someone from London, and then the Londoners will get behind the Londoner if the fight's happening in London and vice versa. Like, that's just how it should be. That's how it should be. Like, I've seen on YouTube, epic entrance of Darren Till coming out in Liverpool to Sweet Caroline. And then that's not, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, it was a good entrance, but that's not like, oh man, that's epic. That is. That's just what happens in boxing events. That's just what happens. And actually this, like, Americans, right, as an audience, they don't really have a lot of like chants that they know, or like just culturally, there's not just like I suppose in football there's a culture of chants, and generally speaking, no matter who you support, there's like a handful of chants that everybody will just know the words to, or know the tune and know what words to fill in to that tune. I don't feel like they have that in America. And actually yesterday the audience, they were there was a few chants that went up and I thought, oh, that's new. I'm not used to hearing Americans actually have a chant. Do you know what I mean? And I just feel like people need to just chill out a little bit, man. Stop. Just let people... There's two people getting in a cage and fighting each other. And they're doing what they can to back the fighter that's from their country. Let them. It doesn't mean they're racist. Because actually, if you really, really think about it, if these guys, if the audience yesterday were racist, then when Kobe Covington came on camera, he would have had unanimous cheers. And I'm not saying Kobe Covington himself is a racist, but what I'm saying is, stereotypically speaking, the type of person you'd say is a racist is the type of person that would be a fan of Kobe Covington. And when he came on the screen, it was a mixed reception. He had cheers and he had boos. But when Rose came out, it was unanimous cheers. And when Weili Zhang came out, it was unanimous boos. They're supporting their home fighter. It's the home team. It's like in a football match. Just because I will swear at a player that plays for an opposing team doesn't mean that I'm racist. It just means I want my team to win. So I'm trying to do my best to put the opposing player from the opposing team off. But yeah, that's all I really wanted. I wanted to really say that because I felt it was being unfair to the crowd, man. I saw someone tweet, hey, come on, Jacksonville, we're better than this, man. Why are you booing Weili Zhang? Just because you boo Weili Zhang, it doesn't mean that you don't rate how good she is or her skills, or just it doesn't mean that you think she's not a very good fighter, or like, you know, you've got an issue with her personally. I'm pretty sure if the people in that audience yesterday saw Weili Zhang out in the city today, they'd want to go up to her and say, oh, tough luck, man. I'm really sorry what happened yesterday. Can I have a picture, please? That's just the way I see it, man. But I mean, I might be wrong, but I don't think I am, man. I don't think that just because people are booing it makes them racist or they're disrespectful or whatever. But let's talk about fights, shall we? Look, I've wasted nearly 10 minutes and I was trying to make this quick. Kamaru Usman against Jorge Masvidal. Now, nobody saw this coming, did they? Mother of God, nobody saw that coming. Kamaru Usman knocked Jorge Masvidal out in the second round. Now, watching this fight, I felt like I saw Kamaru Usman being more comfortable and more willing to exchange with Jorge more willing to play the stand-up game with Jorge Masvidal. And that could be a result of two things. One, him just feeling more comfortable in his skills, him just feeling like he's an improved fighter on the feet, so he wants to explore that. Two, he's had a full training camp dedicated to Jorge Masvidal, so they have a game plan in place that he's working in the fight. Jorge Masvidal similarly fought in a kind of, he was less aggressive but more assured, in my opinion. So he wasn't just kind of going all out, fucking throwing haymakers, but he was fighting in a way that kind of showed me that he had a game plan, because it was a load of low kicks that he was throwing. He threw a flying knee on a couple of occasions, and he was almost trying to goad Kamaru Usman into his range for him to strike with, basically. But without kind of going into too much detail about the fight, etc., all I want to say about this fight is I don't think I'm the only one that's going to say this, but I did not expect the fight to end that way. I had a preview show with James, another friend, James, earlier this week, and we both kind of said that we thought that it would be a Kamaru Usman decision. Neither of us picked by knockout, because we said Jorge Masvidal has the advantage on the feet and he has a very, very good chin. Now, Jorge Masvidal is a guy that has been hurt on a number of occasions, but I think Jorge Masvidal, his style of fighting and the way he is as a character, as a human being, he seems like a guy that never feels pressure when it's a stressful situation. And when he's hurt, he's able to maintain a level of calm and find a way to not to kind of not get finished, for lack of a better term, because he's hit the deck on a number of occasions. Like I said, like just recently, Darren Till, I remember, hurt him, but he managed to use his experience, be calm in a situation, and work his way back up to his feet. This was different, man. I've never seen Jorge Masvidal get hurt to this extent. Usually he hits the deck, it's almost like a flash knockdown, and by the time he's hit the deck and he's realised he's on the deck, he's got his senses about him. On this occasion, Kamaru Usman, for one, didn't give him the opportunity to hit the deck and get his senses about him, because he was in there like a flash, throwing those hammer fists. And number two, I've just physically haven't seen Jorge Masvidal go down like that. I think Jorge Masvidal did underestimate Kamaru Usman's... no, let me rephrase. I don't think he underestimated. I think he wanted to bait Kamaru Usman into a striking affair, which kind of meant that he was taking more risks than he may have done with a fighter that is known for their striking. And he paid the consequences for those actions. Kamaru Usman is a guy, and I said this yesterday to Redneck via text messages. I said to him, like, Kamaru Usman is a guy that was a competent striker, because he was able to use his striking to close the distance and get the fight to a place where he feels most comfortable, basically grappling, wrestling on the ground. Now he's turned into a guy that is he's turning into a better rounded fighter, where he can strike for the sake of striking, for the sake of hurting his opponent and potentially getting a knockout. It's not just a means to an end, basically. He's not just using strikes to get the fight to the ground. Like, he could, he's using his strikes to actually cause an impact on his opponent. And his last two fights, we've seen him, hurt his opponents with his hands. So Kamaru Usman definitely is improving fight after fight. He's getting better and better. And, you have to give the guy his props, because you know when he started talking about, oh, I'm lapping these fools, you know, I'm coming second time back, I'm coming round again, I'm lapping these fools, and I was thinking to myself, are you really lap? Who do you lap? Like, and then I actually looked at his resume. Oh yeah, well he is lapping everyone. Like, he's beaten the who's who in that welterweight division. There's only a couple of names left that he hasn't beaten. Wonder Boy, I'm thinking of. He kind of jumps out off the top of my head. But yeah, big respect to Kamaru Usman, man. He got it done in a way that not a lot of people thought he could, and he just put an exclamation point at the end of that rivalry. Also, Jorge Masvidal, man, he took it on the chin, no pun intended. The way he spoke after the defeat, he gave Kamaru Usman the respect that he deserves, and he was a good loser. Do you know what I mean? So, that's the Jorge Masvidal that I became a fan of years and years and years ago. That was I feel like he's changed over the last 18 months, 2 years, but that's going back to the same Jorge Masvidal that I thought that I was a fan of. But yeah, he took it well, man. And Kamaru Usman against Kobe Covington next. I thought Leon Edwards was in with a shout, but it makes sense, man. Kobe Covington Usman is a long-standing rivalry. The first fight was a classic. I mean, I can see why they're doing it again. Fair play to them. Let's have a sippy sip, shall we, before we talk about Rose Namajunas and Weili Zhang. All right. So Rose Namajunas and Weili Zhang. I thought Weili Zhang was going to win this fight. I figured that Rose would have early success. I spoke about this in the previous show that I did with James. I thought Rose Namajunas would have early success, but I thought she would tire. I thought she would fatigue, and I couldn't see Weili Zhang fatiguing because of the way she fought against Joanna and the pace they fought at. And I thought Weili Zhang would come on strong towards the end and potentially maybe even get a finish. Nothing of that sort happened. In under 1.5 minutes, 1 minute 18 seconds, Rose Namajunas threw that head kick, man. Honestly, it was a thing of beauty. It was a thing of beauty. The way she landed that head kick, like, obviously it was an aggressive strike that hurt Weili Zhang, but just aesthetically looking at the way that kick came, it didn't even feel like she threw it with much power. Like, there wasn't a wind up, it just came. It was almost like it was like the kick looked like it was going to be to the body, and then at the last minute it changed direction and bang, the side of the head. And yeah, I like it just seemed like, in cricket, and I'm sorry if you're not, you're an American, you might not understand this reference, but like, if you've played cricket, you realize that actually, when you swing your bat to try and hit the ball, it's not necessarily all about just putting as much power in your swing as you can. It's more about timing it and hitting the ball at the right time of its flight, and hitting and the ball meeting the bat on the right spot of the bat, which is what makes the ball go further away. And this kick reminded me of that, because it's not like she threw it with like loads of power, but it was accurate and it hit Weili Zhang in the right place, and she got the desired results, because Weili Zhang was flat on her back, she fell on her leg, and Rose Namajunas, similar to Kamaru Usman, followed up with some hammer fists, and that was it. That was all she wrote. No nonsense. Keith Peterson came and stopped the fight. I'm a fan of Rose Namajunas. I'm a fan of Weili Zhang, but I do really I rate Rose Namajunas, man. I like her style. I like the way she fights. She's so crisp. In that first minute or so, you saw Weili Zhang was throwing the odd leg kick, and Rose was moving. She was using her footwork, and she was landing the odd jab. And I just feel like that kick that came out of nowhere, Weili Zhang just wasn't ready for it. It wasn't something that they, as a team, considered potentially is something that could happen. But and I'm nicking this from Josh Thompson from weighing in, because he said Rose Namajunas caught Michelle Waterson with a head kick as well. She's done it before. She's got previous. Do you know what I mean? So what a way to win that. Like I've said this time and time again, that 115 pound division is one of my favorite weight classes, be it male or female, in any organization in the great sport of mixed martial arts. And like, there's so many people, man. One thing that I found funny was Joanna was sitting there saying, who am I going to fight next? And I'm thinking, please, you ain't fighting none of these people. You got to come back and beat someone. You can't just keep getting title shot after title shot and losing title shot after title shot and coming back and still getting another title shot. You got to do something. You got to beat someone. Come on. Do you know what I mean? But I don't know who's next for Rose, to be honest. But also, like, her post-fight interviews is but the demeanor is so different to the woman that fights compared to the woman that actually when she finally gets the belt wrapped around her waist. It's like, it's just like, I don't know, man. I just love seeing that. I just love seeing just the raw emotion that these people go through in victory. It's hard kind of watching it in defeat, but in victory, in good moments, it's I like it. I enjoy it. Weili Zhang was complaining to the ref, saying that it was an early stoppage, and obviously you can't really, like, she was hurt in it. She might have been concussed and whatnot. So, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, how stupid of her, because, you know, she wasn't in the right frame of mind. But it wasn't an early stoppage. It was a 100% correct stoppage. But yeah, congratulations to Rose Namajunas. The other co-main event, Valentina Shevchenko against Jessica Andrade. So Jessica Andrade was going to be the biggest threat that Valentina Shevchenko's faced in that flyweight division. Didn't really look like it. So again, thinking about this fight prior to it happening, myself and James basically said Jessica Andrade is going to have to close the distance and turn this into a grappling exchange and take Valentina Shevchenko down, etc. And what we were describing in terms of Jessica Andrade's keys to victory, Valentina Shevchenko, the Bullet, basically just performed that to a T and won the fight herself. Something like 7 or 8 takedowns she did in the duration of the fight, which lasted 1.5 rounds approximately. Do you know what I mean? Like, she just dominated from start to finish. Again, talking to Redneck during the fight, I was saying, is that a 10-8 round, the first round? Because it was just complete domination from the first second to 4 minutes 59. And then I kind of said, you know what, for me, a 10-8 round has to also include a near finish. So either that's considerable damage via strikes or a very, very close submission attempt. And that was the only thing missing from that round to potentially call it a 10-8 round, in my humble opinion. And also, I haven't really read the unified rules of mixed martial arts. I assume a lot of the judges probably haven't either, judging by some of the results that we get. But I mean, I'd have to consult what the rules are and what the criteria is for scoring a fight for me to actually have an opinion. This is just my own rules that I use to score these rounds. But yeah, Valentina Shevchenko, man, she's so good. She's so good, she started to think, all right, what is my opponent's best way of winning? Okay, well, she's going to have to take me down. Right, well, that's what I'm going to do to her. I'm going to take the fight into the domain that she feels most comfortable and dismantle her at her own game and just show her why I'm the best. And she said as much in her post-fight interview, saying all these people talking about, what I'm not even going to, I can't even remember what she said now, to be honest. But there was a funny moment in the post-fight interview where Joe Rogan said, what did he say? Stack them up, keep them coming, something like that. Keep them coming, in terms of opponents for Valentina. She's like, what are you on about? And you had to explain to her what that meant. You had to be there. You had to be there. But yeah, fair play to Valentina Shevchenko, man. I've been a bit of a hater about her, and I mean this in the nicest possible way. I've always said that I'm not really that interested in the flyweight division and the bantamweight division and the 45-pound division in the female UFC classes, because Amanda Nunes and Valentina Shevchenko are just so dominant that it doesn't, like, you know, the Rose Namajunas and Weili Zhang fight. Going into that fight, I was excited because I didn't know what was going to happen, and I was excited to see what happens. And every time Amanda Nunes and Shevchenko fight opponents, contenders in their weight classes, I don't feel excited, because I feel like I know who's going to win. But that's not their fault, you know? I was asked again by, I keep talking about Redneck, but me and him were talking throughout these fights, and he said to me, what's next for Valentino? Should she move up? And I was like, why should she? Just because these other girls aren't as good as her, why should she move up? Just let her be great. Let her dominate. And I'm going to stop hating, man, because we're literally seeing, like, all of these women in these weight classes. They look good against each other. They look very competent against each other. And then they come up against Amanda Nunes and they come up against Valentina Shevchenko and just get exposed. Not even exposed is a wrong word, because it makes it sound like they did something wrong. They're just not good enough. They're just not good enough, because Valentina Shevchenko and Amanda Nunes are just streets and streets ahead. They're great. They're genuinely great. And we're lucky to be watching them perform at this level. Uriah Hall against Chris Weidman. So here's a funny one, right? I was looking at a betting site at the start of this card, and I was looking at doing a £10 bet for Uriah Hall, Valentina Shevchenko, and Rose Namajunas to win. An accumulator, or for you Americans, a parlay. Hey man, I was going to do a parlay. And what that basically meant, I think I was getting, I can't remember what the odds were, but with that £10, I would have won like 130 quid, 130 pounds. So I don't know what the odds are, 13 to 1, something like that. And that was because Uriah Hall and Rose Namajunas were both underdogs. And this was after the Anthony Smith-Jimmy Crute fight had finished. And then I sat down and I thought to myself, I can't see Uriah Hall winning this fight. Like I said as much in the preview that I did. And so I decided not to place that bet. And I was kind of kicking myself when this fight ended. But then I kind of wasn't, because it's such a freak accident. The way Uriah Hall won this fight, I'm sure he didn't want to win it under these circumstances. But it's just such a shame for Chris Weidman, man. I tweeted about this, and I think this is my most popular ever tweet. Like, I got more than 20 likes on it, guys. More than 20 likes on this tweet. 2 quote tweets. 7 or 8 retweets. So I guess you could say I'm an influencer now. I'm a social media influencer. So follow me on @thebattlecamp. 20 likes. But yeah, I tweeted a picture of Chris Weidman, and that's why I got the likes, because I did a picture of his leg being broken. But what I did say is his career's basically come full circle. And you don't have to be a genius to make this observation, but, you know, it was iconic. Iconic is probably the wrong word, but it kind of it's the time stamped in the history of mixed martial arts when Silva broke his leg throwing that low kick, and Chris Weidman checked it, and Chris Weidman was on the positive end of that at the time. And for him to then be on the receiving end of a similar issue, I feel sorry for him, man. And like, he was so positive going into this fight. He was just so upbeat. And, you know, some fighters talk about potential, you know, making a run for the belt. Tyron Woodley, prime example, before he fought, who did he fight last? Vicente Luque. And Chris Weidman was talking about making another run for the belt. And the difference between how Chris Weidman was talking about it and how Tyron Woodley was talking about it a couple of weeks ago. Chris Weidman felt kind of, he was very realistic about it. And he kept saying, obviously, you know, you guys as an audience have every right to say, oh, what is this guy talking about? But it's my job to prove to you. And he was very grounded in what he was saying and how good he felt. And I kind of bought it, man. I felt like, you know what, I'm not saying that I believe that Chris Weidman had the ability to become champion again. But I did believe Chris Weidman would go and win this fight against Uriah Hall, and he would get booked against a top 10, top 5, top 7, something like that, middleweight. Clearly it's not to be, and it's difficult to see where he goes from here, man. What I can see happening is Chris Weidman, you know, getting better, getting back, and having one last fight as a goodbye, because he probably doesn't want to go out on these circumstances. It's still too soon for him to decide whether he wants to continue or not. He's having an operation on that broken leg, and you know, he'll probably have a better idea of what's next for him when he starts to feel better, rehabbing it and stuff, and he's able to walk and see where his mind's at and stuff like that. And whatever he decides to do, you can't take away what he's accomplished as a mixed martial artist, because he was a you know, there's a lot of people that can call themselves a champion. You know, I was the champion, and that's fine, and that's a hell of an achievement. But Chris Weidman was not only just a champion, but he genuinely, for a time, could say that he was the best middleweight in the world. There was no dispute. There was no disputing that. He was the best middleweight in the world for a period of time. And you can't take that away from him. You can't. Uriah Hall, I think he spoke eloquently. I think he felt the temperature of the room. And he was... Every word he used in his post-fight interview, I rate him for it, man. Because, like, he made the best of a bad situation for himself, because he's got the win, yeah, but it's not really a win because he hasn't actually done anything to achieve that win. And it's more the misfortune of his opponent. But, you know, he deserved a warm round of applause after what he said at the end of that fight. Finally, Anthony Smith against Jimmy Crute. Anthony Smith displaying a crazy jab. I'm quite happy for Anthony Smith, man, because he's a guy that was fighting for a title not so long ago, and now here in this fight, it almost looked like he's being used as a gatekeeper. Yeah, I must have forgot kind of situation for him, because he showed, man, and again, another crazy circumstance in which he won that fight. So this time he threw the leg kick that gave Jimmy Crute effectively a dead leg. He couldn't put any weight on it. He couldn't stand on it. And the doctor decided that was it. Jimmy, after the first round, before the second round started, the doctor decided that was it. He could not continue. I would have liked to have seen how it went, to be honest, because as soon as that happened, Jimmy Crute got 2 takedowns or something like that. So I would have liked to have seen how that second round played out, but the doctor did make the right decision, because if Jimmy Crute can't physically stand on his leg, then he really shouldn't be fighting, you know. And it's just me being a crazy fan of the sport that wants to see someone get viciously knocked out. Quick shout out to the opening fight on the card. Ariane Carnelossi defeated Na Liang, because them girls, fucking hell, they went after it, man. I'd never heard of either of them, but I watched that fight. I tuned in because I wanted to see what it looked like with an audience, and then the audience were feeding off the girls, and the girls were feeding off the audience. Going back to how I started this video, what a fight! If you haven't seen it, check it out on Fight Pass, because thoroughly enjoyable. What a night of fights, man! What a night of fights. You know what? Actually, one thing that I did say leading into this card during the week is I didn't really feel excited about it. I didn't really sit there and, you know, I wasn't really looking forward to it as such. Obviously I was going to watch it, but I just wasn't like feeling it. I just wasn't like thinking about it a lot, and I just wasn't like, I didn't post about it on Instagram. I only made the one video of it during the week because it just didn't really like excite me, because I felt like I knew what was going to happen, and I was wrong. And that's one thing that you can guarantee about mixed martial arts. You're going to have an opinion about how a fight's going to go, and you will be wrong. And that's why we keep coming back for more. Let me know what you guys think about what I've said in this video. Share any comments about any of the points that I've made. Share any comments about any points that I've missed, something that I haven't discussed that you think is important to a fight that I've been speaking about in this video. If you've liked the video, like it, share it with a friend, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys next time.